So, Professor Gould, thank you so much for having me up on stage. Really excited for your first class here. Everyone, welcome to the course introduction. My name's Chris. I won't be crashing any more classes from here on out, but well, you never know. But
Right.
only when I'm asked, only if I'm invited. So, welcome. Melissa, Dahlia, and Summer, they got the run through. I went through all the features and functionality. Looks like Lenny, or Yenny rather, has just arrived, so thank you for joining. Um, so basically, this is a new platform that Professor Gould is piloting for this course. I think you're all going to love it. Dahlia already said she thought it was awesome, so that's great feedback. Couple quick things, Yenny, and the others that are in the audience that may have missed it. You're in the event, the session as a student. At any moment, you can click on other classmates, and you can join a private chat with them. That chat can have up to 5 people in it. So you can click on 3 people, 2 people, 4 people. You can create a small group. When you create that small group, you can have a conversation with one another while listening to the presentation. Professor Gould throughout this course is going to prompt some breakout groups, some collaborative exercises, some interactions. So feel free to use that in order to chat and collaborate with your classmates at any time. If you hover over yourself, you're going to see 4 options. There's the mute button, which could actually mute yourself. We hope you don't do that too often. We want you to participate. There's the IM chat. You can open the IM chat and you can chat with your room or you can chat with anyone else. Melissa said she is muted. That's fine, Melissa. If you're in a group chat, sometimes it makes it a little easier. Now, additionally, you can click on the lock button, which would make yourself private, and other folks have to ask to join up with you. What you can also do is if you have a question for Professor, you can raise your hand, and he can bring you up on stage to ask that question and answer it for you, or maybe you have something to share with the class. What you can also do is you can click the Ask button. The Ask button is a way to submit a text question, okay? So some of you that are coming in a little bit later, feel free to click on someone else. They can maybe help you out. If you click on someone, you can start a private chat with them. This is going to get started. We're going to start the class soon. I'll be in the class, so click on me if you have any questions. And Professor, it's all yours from here on out.
And are you going to be recording this for me?
Every session will be recorded, and they will be posted wherever Professor would like to. And we'll make sure you get those at the next after each class.
Okay, very good. Well, here we go. We'll see what happens. So let me do a couple little things here. I have to. I'm going to use a PowerPoint in my slides eventually when we get this working, because I like to use a lot of activities in my slides. But tonight, since this is my maiden voyage in this process, and I want to welcome all of you to EDUC 802, which is our Leadership and Technology course. So I'm going to take you through basically what the course is about, what the assignments are, and then deal with any questions that you might have related to the course, the coursework, or material that you saw in week 1. One of the things that's very important about this course is that we're not totally focusing in on technology as tools. We're going to be focusing in on technology from the point of view of leadership. And so first of all, I thought it was kind of good, so at least you know who I am. Obviously, I was born in Trenton, New Jersey, and I believe I'm about 3 years old or 2 years old in that picture. It's on Warren Street. And just want to make sure that you have a sense of my background. I have over 47 years in education. I taught in Catholic schools in Pittsburgh. I was in Mercer County Rental School District, Elanco, which is in New Holland, Pennsylvania, which is where I still live right now. So I'm broadcasting from New Holland, Pennsylvania. I went to Norristown. I've been assistant superintendent, acting superintendent. I've been superintendent of school districts, Marsville, Northwestern Lehigh, And now I've been at Drexel for 9.5 years. After I retired as a superintendent, I saw the light and said it's time to get out. So anyway, for any of you who want to be superintendents, we'll talk about that down the road. I also worked out of the governor's office in Pennsylvania, Tom Ridge. I don't know if any of you remember back in the late 90s, there was a program called Link to Learn, where the Ridge administration was trying to create the Pennsylvania Educational Network to begin to get schools and communities and businesses to link together to begin to utilize this new type of technology. Back then, we were not using this type of technology. We were using Polycom to do video conferencing at that particular point in the early stages. But my job there in the Ridge administration's office was to be a project manager for shared vision. So I had the responsibility going around the state to bring together communities, businesses, school districts to explore what this material was going to be about, how they could begin to utilize it, and then to actually use some of the techniques that you learned in 800 around systems thinking. So that was a very, very interesting job, and I did learn a lot in working in that position for 2 years. And I also think something's kind of interesting I want you to know about me is that, as I tell people, I graduated second in my high school class, and it wasn't at the valedictorian salutatorian level, it was second at the bottom, and I also flunked out of 2 universities. So I'm really building up a good case for you to say, wow, that's kind of interesting. But once I always realized I loved to learn, but I had a very serious problem with the structure of schools and learning. And when I went to school in the late 60s and into colleges in the 70s, I went to grammar school in the 50s, so you can get a sense of where I'm coming from. But then something clicked in me, and I was able to do a master's in counseling psychology in 1 year, and I did my PhD part-time in 3 years. So I just, for something, I understand the need for why we need to begin to rethink our schools, but more importantly, I begin to understand it from now with the types of technologies that we have here, what is available to you, those of you who are in the K-12 environment and those of you who are in the higher ed or within the business environment, that this technology is radically shifting the way in which we interact with each other and the way in which we work. So this is what the focus of this course is about. Now, the 2 books that I'm having you read is The Second Machine Age, which is a extremely, I'm getting text messages. I'm not able to get into Shindig. Okay, I'm getting a couple people who are having trouble getting in. So at least we're recording this, and I'll get back to them later. But hopefully you're able to get the book, both of these books. This one, The Second Machine Age, is, I think, an extremely important one for you to think about. And what is important about it is it's going to set the stage for how the global economy is being radically affected by automation and technology, what it's going to do to our systems of work, what it's going to do to human beings, etc. And at the end of my short presentation, I'm going to show you a 15-minute clip that I want you to watch, which sort of summarizes what's in that book, and it's going to serve as a very important discussion point for all of you when you get into your teams. And the second book is the pedagogy in terms of technology to help you to begin to think about what does learning look like and what does it have to become in the digital age. So these are the 2 books for you to look at. The other thing, I mentioned the word team to all of you, and what I need to find out from you, because this is the first time I've worked with this particular cohort, that in your other classes, if you functioned in teams and had a particular team put together, I would like to know, you know, what was the makeup of your teams. If not, what I'm going to do is, and I'd like to know that by Friday, if possible, just drop me an email. If not, I'm going to put you together into 3 conversational teams that you'll be working in. But when we look at the assignments, your team is going to have a responsibility of redesigning a learning space using technology for the next generation. So that's something I want all of you to let me know if you've already functioned in a team, who your teammates were. If not, I then will put you into, based off of all the information that you've given me, I'll put you into 3 functioning teams for the last part of the project. The other thing that's very important about this course is that this is not a course that's just sitting out there by itself. And if I had the PowerPoint working, I would have done this in stages. But if you remember what you learned about in 800, that was the systems thinking course. You were exposed to the work of Peter Senge, the work of Linsky and Heifetz, Russell Lakoff, etc. And that what you were being taught there is to begin to think about organizations as systems, and that the framework of the iceberg that Peter Senge put together, looking at events and then going down into the patterns and trends that are causing those events, and then beginning to look at systemic structure, and then finally the deeper dive into understanding the thinking processes that are at play within any group of people or even within yourself, that's extremely important. And then when you overlay what you learned in 845 or 625, depending on when you took that particular course, you then moved into Theory U. And what Theory U was basically about is understanding how you begin to create generative conversation so that as you go down the U, your ability to see and to sense and to become empathetic with the people who you're talking to, then what happens is you're able to let go, basically to let come. So that's one of the things that I think is extremely important for you to begin to look at and to draw upon the material that you used in the past, because one of the things that you will be doing in this course will be going up the U, so to speak, because you're going to be prototyping a learning space utilizing some of the technologies that you're going to explore and some of the ideas that you're going to explore. So let me just pause just for a couple minutes. Does anyone have any question that you might want to raise for me right now? Okay, Summer, hang on one second. I'm going to, I think I can spotlight you. Okay, I'm back. Something happened. I knocked myself off. So, otherwise, this is, I want you all to begin to think about, the relationship of what you learned in 800, what you learned in 845, and also, I believe, if I'm right, if you guys did I'm not sure if you did 801 yet. Okay, so let me look at the question tab. So the Chris, are you asking that question? Do we have an email group or a Facebook page for this class? We probably will. I will get that up and running. I have a YouTube page for my other classes, but I have to create one for this particular class where we can upload the videos. Okay. All right. So Um, so what I want to do is just take you through what the assignments are, and hopefully you can read those. What we're dealing with then is your first assignment. It's not a first assignment. Once I put your teams together, what I want you to be able to do is then to meet individually in teams on a regular basis to reflect upon a lot of the questions that are being raised and a lot of the conversations that will take place in Shindig, and for your team to process and to generate questions related to the readings. So I want your team, once I put your teams together, and hopefully you'll have those by Saturday once I get feedback from all of you, then each week your group should correspond with each other about what you're learning about the readings, what you're learning about the videos that you're watching within each of the weeks. So that's one thing that I would like you to be able to do. The other thing is I want you to keep a journal. Now, I'm not collecting the journals. If and I'm not sure who taught you 845, and that would be the Theory U. That is part of Theory U. Journaling is an extremely important component for you to begin to understand how you yourself are reacting to materials. So I'm going to ask you to keep a journal each week about your reflections, and then at the end of week 5, I want you just to give me a short one-page synopsis of what you're learning about yourself, and at the end of week 10, you'll do the same thing. And what's important about that, again, is that it's going to get you in the habit of keeping notes about your thinking process as you go through this, which will help you greatly when you get into your research courses and you have to take field notes when you're doing research, and you have to understand how to utilize those notes in research. So one of the things I'd like you to do is to kind of keep a weekly journal focused on your thinking about this, about technology, particularly with many of the videos that you're going to be watching, as you do this. So I think the journaling aspect is important. But again, I'm not going to check it to see if you're doing it weekly. That's your responsibility as a doctoral student, as a person who's really trying to learn about your own leadership style. The only thing I'm going to ask from you, as I said, is just that one-page synopsis in week 5 and week 10 about how that's going, and possibly some points that you might be learning. Now, your first major assignment, or your first assignment is going to be due, is what I'm calling the digital media profile. And what I'd like you to do take a 24-hour inventory of your uses of digital media and the specific setting on where you're doing that. And I believe I have in the first week for you to download an example of that. You can do it in VoiceThread. You can do it as a Prezi with voiceover, however you want to do it. But what I really want you to get into is to kind of concentrate for one full day how you utilize technology and what types of technology you're using. So from the moment you get up, on whether your iPhone wakes you up in the morning or whatever, to when you go to bed, what type of technologies are you using? And where are you using them, and how are you using them? As it relates to your work, as it relates to your living outside of work. So to me, that is a very important assignment. And as I said, I'd like you to do it in either a VoiceThread presentation, a Prezi presentation, or a Padlet, any of those. But make sure that you have voice in it so I can hear what your thoughts are about as you go through that process. And if you do have any questions about that, you can ask here or send me an email. But I'm hoping that the example that I have there for you to download will give you a pretty good sense of what it is. Then the other assignment that I believe is in week 5, week 6, is I want you to think about your work environment, where you are, and to begin to identify what the professional learning needs are within that in order for you to address using technology as a tool really to enhance the work environment, what's going on, whether it be things that you might have done if you're a classroom teacher, or if you're an administrator, or if you're in higher ed, or if you're working outside of education. So I want you to think about, if you as the leader, how would you begin to identify what those needs are for your specific organization that you're interacting with. And again, you'll have some examples of that from past cohorts, so you have a sense of what that is. So that's your other project, and basically those projects are individualized, except for the reflective conversation. Now the last project then, and you'll be getting started on that once we get your teams put together. Basically, what that project will be about is you're going to draw upon the research, the movies you're watching, the interaction, and your team is going to design an implementation plan of what a future learning environment would look like based upon emerging technologies. So your team's going to create that. And you're utilizing, again, what you learned in systems thinking, going from what the event level might look like in that environment to what type of trends or patterns underlie that, to what type of structure are you creating. And this doesn't have to be in a school. This can be anywhere. So it can be any type of learning environment. It can be in a community. It can be in your place of work. But the team is going to try to begin to let go, to let come new forms of learning that can be enhanced by the technologies that you're going to be reading about and watching on the different weeks within this course. And so what you'll do in week 10 is you will put together a 15-minute presentation explaining what this is about, and I'll give you more guidance as we go along. And when you look at the syllabus, it spells out some things I want you to do. So again, you can utilize a YouTube presentation, you can utilize VoiceThread, you can utilize any of the social medias that will allow your team to show what this is about. And again, I'll give you some examples of that. What that's going to do is really set it up for when you get into 801, which is the creativity and leadership course, where you're going to spend 10 weeks in a design studio. So that's the assignments. So I'm going to keep quiet for a couple of seconds and see if anyone wants to raise a question or needs any clarification based off of what I've just said. See, I'm doing such a good job. You guys are totally understanding this, or you're there like, what is he saying? Okay. Okay, then if there's no questions at this particular time, I'm going to show you a short video that's going to capture what is inside of the second machine age. And it's a video that it's called Humans Need Not Apply. And hopefully, if you've seen it before, you can look at it and think about it in light of the context that I put together. If not, I think is a rather important video for you to think about as emerging leaders within any type of organization to understand what the possibilities of automation are doing, particularly digital automation, what it's basically doing to our workforce, our lives, etc. So, all right, I need to let me stop my broadcast for 1 second. All right, I'm back. I found it. So here we go.
Every human used to have to hunt or gather to survive, but humans are smartly lazy, so we made tools to make our work easier. From sticks to plows to tractors, we've gone from everyone needing to make food to modern agriculture with almost no one needing to make food. And yet we still have abundance. Of course, it's not just farming, it's everything. We've spent the last several thousand years building tools to reduce physical labor of all kinds. These are mechanical muscles, stronger, more reliable, and more tireless than human muscles ever could be. And that's a good thing. Replacing human labor with mechanical muscles frees people to specialize, and that leaves everyone better off, even those still doing physical labor. This is how economies grow and standards of living rise. Some people have specialized to be programmers and engineers whose job is to build mechanical minds. Just as mechanical muscles made human labor less in demand, so are mechanical minds making human brain labor less in demand. This is an economic revolution. You may think we've been here before, but we haven't. This time is different. When you think of automation, you probably think of this: giant, custom-built, expensive, efficient, but really dumb robots blind to the world and their own work. They were a scary kind of automation, but they haven't taken over the world because they're only cost-effective in narrow situations. But they're the old kind of automation. This is the new kind. Meet Baxter. Unlike these things, which require skilled operators and technicians and millions of dollars, Baxter has vision and can learn what you want him to do by watching you do it. And he costs less than the average annual salary of a human worker. Unlike his older brothers, he isn't pre-programmed for one specific job. He can do whatever work is within the reach of his arms. Baxter is what might be thought of as a general-purpose robot, and general purpose is a big deal. Think computers. They too started out as highly custom and highly expensive, but when cheap-ish general-purpose computers appeared, they quickly became vital to everything. A general-purpose computer can just as easily calculate change, or assign seats on an airplane, or play a game, or do anything just by swapping its software. And this huge demand for computers of all kinds is what makes them both more powerful and cheaper every year. Baxter today is the computer of the 1980s. He's not the apex, but the beginning. Even if Baxter is slow, his hourly cost is pennies worth of electricity, while his meat-based competition costs minimum wage. A tenth the speed is still cost-effective when it's 100th the price. And while Baxter isn't as smart as some of the other things we will talk about, he's smart enough to take over many low-skilled jobs. And we've already seen how dumber robots than Baxter can replace jobs. In new supermarkets, what used to be 30 humans is now one human overseeing 30 cashier robots. Or take the hundreds of thousands of baristas employed worldwide. There's a barista robot coming for them. Sure, maybe your guy makes the double mocha whatever just perfect and you'd never trust anyone else, but millions of people don't care and just want a decent cup of coffee. Oh, and by the way, this robot is actually a giant network of robots that remembers who you are and how you like your coffee no matter where you are. Pretty convenient. We think of technological change as the fancy new expensive stuff, but the real change comes from last decade's stuff getting cheaper and faster. That's what's happening to robots now. And because their mechanical minds are capable of decision-making, they are out-competing humans for jobs in a way no pure mechanical muscle ever could. Imagine a pair of horses in the early 1900s talking about technology. One worries all these new mechanical muscles will make horses unnecessary. The other reminds him that everything so far has made their lives easier. Remember all that farm work? Remember running from coast to coast delivering mail? Remember riding into battle? All terrible. These new city jobs are pretty cushy, and with so many humans in the cities, there will be more jobs for horses than ever. Even if this car thingy takes off, he might say, there will be new jobs for horses we can't imagine. But you, dear viewer from Beyond 2000, know what happened. There are still working horses, but nothing like before. The horse population peaked in 1915. From that point on, it was nothing but down. There isn't a rule of economics that says better technology makes more better jobs for horses. It sounds shockingly dumb to even say that out loud, but swap horses for humans and suddenly people think it sounds about right. As mechanical muscles pushed horses out of the economy, mechanical minds will do the same to humans. Not immediately, not everywhere, but in large enough numbers and soon enough that it's going to be a huge problem if we're not prepared, and we're not prepared. You, like the second horse, may look at the state of technology now and think it can't possibly replace your job, but technology gets better, cheaper, and faster at a rate biology can't match. Just as the car was the beginning of the end for the horse, so now does the car show us the shape of things to come.
See. Hang on one second. I don't know what happened. That should have kept playing, but it's not. So we're all learning. I will post the rest of that video up in our Blackboard for you to look at it. But what is important to think about is how do you look at the development of technology and what it's going to do, particularly to the students who you're working with now or with people who you work with within your organization, how it's changing that. Recently, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal after I watched this for the first time. Baxter, they actually were showing pictures of Baxter and how Baxter was going to change, menial labor because Baxter only cost $25,000. That's what that robot cost. And there was another article that followed up. We're talking about now insurance companies are looking at creating insurance policies for people to buy if they are displaced by automation. So it's a type of concept that is something that we need to begin to think about, and particularly as we think about teaching in our K-12 and university levels, what that's going to mean to the type of world in which our kids are moving into. So I will post the rest of that video for you up. I'll try to put it up tonight. I don't know why this cut. When I sent it to Chris, he got the whole thing, but obviously it stopped with the automobile. So that's where we are now. So what I'm going to ask you, if you do you have any general questions about the course? Raise your hand or post the question I can see at this particular point, and then as you begin to think about what is in that syllabus, after you've heard what I said, if you do have any questions, afterwards, please let me know, and I will, answer them through email or give me a telephone call. So, any questions right now? Just raise your hand. I can bring you up onto the stage, and we can do that. And if not, what I will say is that you then can depart at any time. If you don't have any questions, I will stay on in case you do want to chat with me or want to directly talk to me. One of the limitations of this right now is that I can only talk to one person at a time by bringing you up on the stage. So, but everybody can hear what that conversation is if you have a general question. So, if not, then you can all log off. And again, as I said, I'll be the last person on. And if you do have any questions, please feel free at any time to email me or to give me a call. I try to make myself as available as I can for you. The main thing is I just want to make sure that you understand the basic structure of the course. But more importantly, I do need by Friday, if you were working with any specific teams, to let me know. I think I see a question. So let me bring up my question, and I'm learning how to use this. Okay, is it okay if we can attend? Yeah, so you're asking, you know, if you can attend, yeah, those, I'm going to have another one next Tuesday night, hopefully as I get better with this. Obviously, I want you to be here live time if you can, but again, like I said in my voice announcement, that I do know sometimes your schedules conflict with this, and that's why we do record. So does that help to answer your question? So I just sent you an I am message. Yeah, and the other thing is, you know, to make sure, the thing is, this doesn't work well in Safari. It mainly works in Firefox. So I generally use Safari, but it has a lot of limitations at this point. Now they are going to make some changes in September where there's going to be more interactive processes, so that will be good. So anything else? I still see there's 12 of you here. If you have questions, please let me know. If not, you are free to go, to leave the Shindig.
I can't hear you.
How about now? Okay.
Okay, can you guys
Yeah.
hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a question. The groups, should those be the small reading groups? Because we had a couple different groups going on in the other classes, so I didn't know if those should be like our small. We had, in the one class, we did have a small reading group that was 3 people. Is that the kind of small groups you want?
Yeah,
for the reflective reading?
Yeah, what I'm trying to do is see what those groups were. I'm going to break this into 3 functioning groups.
Okay.
But I want to get an idea of who is in your group before I put those together.
Okay, because for 800 we had reflective reading groups. There were 3 of us in each one, and then at the end we had a team project that was 6 of us, and that would be 3 groups.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure.
I'd like to see that one.
Okay.
Okay. That one.
Okay. I'll email you. Thank you.
So the question for you is, you've used Zoom before, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about this initially? Because I'm still learning this.
It's similar. I mean, it's similar. My picture's all pixelated for some reason. I'm not really sure why in this setting. I don't know why. I mean, it's the same camera, but it might be because I think I'm in Chrome, so maybe that's why.
Okay.
I don't know. I do like it though. It's new. It's different.
Okay. Well, that's why I kind of volunteered to do this.
Yeah, it's neat. It's neat. Different.
So, okay. Good.
Thank you.
Okay, good night.
Thank you very
Okay.